Well, let me make a consideration about the presentations we heard so far. I mean, we heard the presentations about financial instruments or selling methods like auctions that might help kind of manage volatility, which has become one of the major concerns of the different players onto the market. However, here we have processors and processing companies on the one hand who need to find some way to decrease fluctuations onto the market, which are still very, very important, despite the fact that we have tools that allow us to, manage the buying and selling process, but still we have fluctuations. And then we have farmers and milk producers, because if on the one hand these tools allow processors to kind of smooth out the fluctuations of the market, when it comes to producers that have to, look at the market prices and compare those prices to the production costs, which is not correlated to the financial instruments we talked about. I mean, these financial instruments can help us kind of smooth out the fluctuations of selling and buying price, but they have no effect on production cost. And so the gap that you have between the production cost and the selling price of the final product, on the one hand, I have one factor which is very, very rigid, meaning production costs. On the other hand, I have prices that might fluctuate on the market. So from these presentations, we heard that we have tools and instruments that can help processors, but we have limited answers to meet the needs requirements of producers. And this is something I'd like all of the people here to ponder upon. Then another thing I wanted to underline, and as far as the participation to auctions of Grana Padano, in this case, our ambition doesn't really aim at selling a commodity. I mean, we also have a number of technical, features like the need to have a standardized product. But before speaking about the technical issues, I perhaps would like to mention the direction to which we would like to go with our product. I think there is a question from Professor D.Thiele.
That's a question to Michael from GlobalDairyTrade. What do you think, or what's your opinion? Why do we not have such an instrument in Europe? Such a good instrument, or like your auction on forward contracts. Why do we have at the moment not these sort of instrument? And what's the reason why? And are you thinking about having another GDT in Europe? Because I've noticed that you have participants from Europe, and New Zealand is a little bit far away from our region. So I think it's interesting to discuss at this point.
Thank you. So in terms of the first question, look, I live in New Zealand, so I don't know if I can be really qualified to answer why Europe hasn't embraced a platform like that. But is there an opportunity for a GDT platform or something similar in the European market? Well, we're not actively working on anything, but I do believe personally that there is an opportunity If you look at the trade, if you look at the total traded world of traded dairy products, the vast majority of it stays either within the US or stays within Europe or stays within India. So in all three cases, yes, I'm clearly a believer in B2B, online B2B trading. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing the job I am. And I do see an opportunity in all those three markets in the future for some kind of online trading platform. Whether that is a futures or a spot, I don't know, but I do see an opportunity.
C'è ancora spazio per qualche domanda?
Now we still have some time for a few questions from the floor, if there are any.
Question to Michael Nolan, and what wonders me is the price fluctuations are really high, and sometimes they are quite high above world market levels and sometimes even below. And yeah, what are your explanation for these huge price fluctuations above or below the world market level?
My explanations are probably similar to yours, I think. I mean, we look at all the global factors that are influencing prices. We have a high supply and clearly a low demand at the moment. If what you're asking is, do you think the GDT platform contributes to price volatility? That may be behind your question, I don't know. I'd say that I have a chart which I actually took out of my presentation because I didn't have enough time, which shows price volatility in the world global dairy market. And it shows quite clearly that from about 2006, our global dairy trade prices really became volatile from then. And of course, GDT didn't start until 2008. Having said that, I would say that buying purchasing product is not entirely a rational process. And to a certain extent, auction theory does work on an element of irrationality, if you like. We all know if we sell our house in an auction, people can get carried away. So I do believe, off the record, I do believe that we have seen an instance of that. So there may be a small element of sentiment coming into the way that buyers are behaving. But you have to remember that ultimately global dairy trade is only trading a relatively small proportion of all the product that's being traded globally. And for all of the sellers that trade on global dairy trade, it's only a portion of what they're selling is going through that platform. The rest of it is still being traded through spot market, through long-term supply agreements and so on. Yeah. I hope that goes part of the way to answer your question. Well, you'd need to ask the sellers that, because that's probably commercially sensitive information. Each seller would have a different percentage of how much it offers that it puts through GDT. Yeah. There's a couple of sellers in the room, so you can talk to them, including the guy who's sitting next to you.
Prego.
I want to give a short answer to the question, do milk futures help dairy farmers? As you said, that it's more, dairy futures are more for processors than for dairy farmers. It's true that the products which are traded on the dairy future markets are products which are not fluid milk products. That's the same at the CME and on the European future markets or in New Zealand. But it helps it can help dairy farmers directly or indirectly in risk management. Directly, they can take part, they can sell and buy skim milk powder and butter contracts to hedge fluid milk. As I said, you need to convert always skim milk powder prices and butter prices into raw milk values, and then you can hedge it with these products. You can do that directly, but you need a large size for the dairy farm as a dairy farmer to do that. As I said, you need, for example, more than 1 million kilograms of milk per year. And indirectly, the dairy company, when the dairy company is hedging price risks via dairy futures, then that will also help the dairy farmer. So I think that's there are both arguments that milk futures helping dairy farmers.
And to follow up with that, dairy producers, they're not supposed to hedge 100% of their production. That's not the function of a futures contract, is to manage 100% of your milk production. It's only a certain percentage, and as they sit down with a dairy or futures professional, they will go over that and see what their production is a year. So they may be a small farmer, but they may be able to use just one contract. They don't have to hedge 100% of their milk supply. That's not the intended purpose of futures contracts, is to manage 100%. It's to manage, X percent of your production, and that goes for the large manufacturers of the world as well. They don't typically manage 100% of their risk. It's only a percentage.
Abbiamo ancora qualche minuto, ci sono domande?
Now we still have a few minutes. If you have any question, raise your hand and use the microphone. Well, let me ask a question. No, okay, you go ahead, sir.
Mr. Thiele, you quickly said at the beginning of your intervention that all these futures and all the system that you presented were not so good for the dairy industry. So I heard a sentence like that. Was I right when I heard that? And for Mr. sorry, I forgot your name, Michael from GDT, I'm quite surprised of the relation you made between GDT and the farmers in New Zealand. If you see the volatility that they have today compared to last year, and with such a range of prices of milk, my conclusion of that is really neither the tools that are implemented by the one that presented Dr. Thiele or even GDT is really helping the price of the milk. So the market is making the price of the milk. So honestly, I think it's a combination of all what you presented that could help. But if GDT was the only solution and was really the solution to link the price of the milk and to prevent some volatility, most of us in the room would have used the platform.
Yes, shall I start? Yes. Yeah, the first question concerning you said you understand that I said that the processors at the moment are not very well in risk management. Maybe I think that was your question. And is that true? What's true at the moment? Every processor is dealing with price risk in the market. So and the risk management tools at the moment are diversification, having a broader portfolio, product portfolio. And the other thing is that we are using forward contracts, and not forward contracts via auctions, because they are maybe, for many reasons, are too transparent. We are using forward contracts, or the processors using forward contracts with the customers. So there are 6 months, 3 months, and so on. And so you're locking in or you're fixing prices as well, as the same you do in a future market. But the big difference is if you lock in prices via forward contracts is that you're fixing a price and you have to deliver, even if the market is going in the other direction. Yeah. Other direction means you are fixing a price and the market is going up. Then you are not very good, that was not a good thing to lock in this price. But you have to deliver until the end of the contract. And in future markets you can, for example, you can get out after maybe 1 month or something else. You can get out of the contract and get out of this stabilization procedure, and so you can you not have to maximize your loss in that moment. And as far as we know, most of the losses in the chain are ending up in lower milk prices for the farmers. So and maybe also in problems in the processor. So I think that's what I mean with problems in risk management at the moment. And if you have a higher volatility in prices, then we have to think about new risk management tools. And the processors, they already react to the higher volatility in Europe, as far as I know, because the contract duration was reduced in the past. This is also an answer on higher risk, but future markets are an additional instrument. It's not the only instrument, as you already said, too. It's another instrument, and we should look deeper into this instrument. What can future markets help? How can they help?
And in answer to your observation about GDT, forgive me if I presented GDT as some kind of silver bullet for the industry or some kind of magic solution to all of our issues in managing price volatility. It isn't. It's one tool of many tools, and I think we probably, if there's one thing we agree on, is that what we could probably do with some more.
One question to Charles. So, how many of your farmers, we know that CLAL also did some study on production cost, so the effect of cereal prices and so on on the milk price. How many of the American farmers are working on the futures market for cereals, for their production, to cover their production costs? I think for New Zealand is less important than for America. Maybe it's less important for Ireland. But we have countries, especially also here in Europe, where corn price is quite important, where wheat price is quite important, soya price is very important, and is a big part of the milk price, of the production costs.
I don't have any actual figures on, how many dairy farmers are actually hedging their production on their own. I know that there are some. I can't give you a total. I mean, I just know anecdotally from talking with some. Most of the dairy farmers work through their co-ops, their processors, to help manage their risk, because they may be, the processor or the co-op may be offering more than just dairy risk management. They may be offering input costs such as corn, soybean, hedging, as well as milk. They may be doing energy hedging for that dairy farmer. So there's a whole set of tools that they're using to help that dairy farmer. And again, it's being aggregated by the processor or the co-op, and then they are laying off that risk that they're taking with the, locking in of the milk price with the dairy farmer.
Okay, so they have to pay a certain fee for this service and get a more or less fixed price for a certain period. So they have to pay a certain fee for this service to the co-op, and then they have a fixed price for a certain volume?
I think, I don't know exactly what the relationship is and what type of fees that they pay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have privilege to that information.
It's much lower than the 30 euro.
Yes.
Domande concluse. Allora io darei la parola ad Angelo Rossi.
Well, at this point, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Rossi for the conclusion of the day. I only, by way of conclusion, would like to thank you for taking part in this meeting, and I hope it was useful for you all. Now, after your presentations, I think I can say I have learned a few new things, which I believe are very useful. Though I'm old, I can look forward and see how we can use these new things. Now, when I said I would like to have different parties set up a study center, I think that is very important, because we can't continue to go on by one going in one direction, another in another direction. We need to kind of move together so that European and world players need to find a clear sense of direction, because here we know risks are run by farmers and by processors, and we need to be able to provide them information correctly and updated. What I learned today from Nolan is really very interesting, but also Charles and also the other speaker helped me a lot. It opened my eyes, because we need really to kind of think and speak all together so that we find a new sense of direction. And this is what I'd like to, for this reason, I'd like to thank Charles, Michael, and Holger. We need to provide a clear sense of direction to companies that nowadays are operating onto the global market, because they operate onto the global market. I really would like to thank you with a lot of affection for your participation. Nolan comes from New Zealand. Also, we have another friend here coming from really very far away. So I'd like to thank you. I think we can close the meeting here. I'll see you at 8 p.m. Now we're going to the Benacus restaurant, level -1 in this hotel. So we'll meet at 8 o'clock. You will find your place assigned. It's my son who will take care of you and will take you to your table. Thank you very much. If you want to go to swim, you can now go to swim now. Thank you. The swimming pool is open out there. Thank you very much.
Grazie ad Angelo Rossi e grazie ai partecipanti. Se per informazioni se avete bisogno.
Thank you very much to Mr. Angelo Rossi. Thank you much to all the participants. And for any information, Mr. Simone Rossi is available.